I'm Dr. Vivian Cole, an endocrinologist specializing in male vitality. And today, I need to address a deeply frustrating trend I am witnessing in my clinic. Every single week, I sit across from men in their early 60s who are doing everything society tells them to do to age gracefully. They've cut out the junk food, they've started walking or golfing to stay active, and they've swapped their afternoon potato chips for what they believe is a heart-healthy, doctor-approved snack. Yet, they are sitting in my office feeling defeated because, despite these supposedly healthy changes, their performance and vitality down there have completely flatlined. The medical community has done a massive disservice to men over 60 by oversimplifying the connection between diet and sexual health. We are constantly told to watch our cholesterol and eat more healthy snacks to protect our hearts. But what almost no one is talking about is how one specific, incredibly common category of healthy snack is quietly waging war on the most delicate vascular tissue in the male body. If you have noticed a significant drop in your firmness, a delay in your response time, or a complete lack of morning vitality, I need you to listen very carefully. The culprit is likely not just your age, and it's very often not your testosterone. It might be the very snack you are eating to try and stay healthy. I am talking specifically about commercial trail mixes, roasted nut clusters, and seemingly innocent dried fruit medleys. You probably have a bag of this in your pantry or your golf bag right now. Marketed as the ultimate healthy choice, packed with good fats and natural energy, these highly processed snacks contain a biochemical combination that is uniquely destructive to the microvessels in erectile tissue. Concentrated fructose combined with oxidized industrial seed oils. To understand why this is so devastating, we have to look at the mechanics of male performance. A strong, reliable erection does not depend on your major arteries. It depends on a complex network of microvessels. These capillaries are microscopic. Some are literally thinner than a single strand of human hair. The inner lining of these tiny vessels is called the endothelium, and it is coated with an even thinner, fragile gel-like layer known as the endothelial glycocalyx. This delicate layer is the control center for your localized vitality. When you become aroused, your brain sends a signal to this layer, triggering the release of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the molecule that tells the smooth muscle around these microvessels to relax, allowing blood to rush in and create a firm erection. Here's the tragedy of the healthy snack. When you consume commercial trail mixes or roasted nuts, you are usually ingesting nuts that have been roasted at extremely high temperatures in cheap, inflammatory seed oils, like canola, sunflower, or soybean oil. These oils oxidize rapidly under heat, turning into unstable free radicals. Combine that with the dried fruit in these mixes, which is essentially concentrated sugar stripped of its hydrating water, and you create the perfect biological storm. When this massive spike of concentrated sugar meets these highly unstable, oxidized fats in your bloodstream, a chemical reaction occurs. They fuse together to form compounds known as advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. The acronym is entirely appropriate because these compounds literally age your vascular system at an accelerated rate. These AGEs act like microscopic shards of sticky glass inside your bloodstream. As they circulate, they become lodged in the tight, narrow pathways of the microvessels down there. They physically scrape away and destroy the delicate endothelial glycocalyx. Once that protective layer is compromised, your body's ability to produce localized nitric oxide plummets. But the damage doesn't stop there. The AGEs bind to the smooth muscle tissue itself, causing it to become rigid, stiff, and incapable of relaxing. This is why so many men over 60 experience what we call vascular resistance. You can have all the desire in the world, and your testosterone levels can be perfectly normal for your age. But if the microvessels are stiffened by glycation and the endothelial lining is stripped away, The physical mechanism of an erection simply cannot engage. The tissue is paralyzed by localized, diet-induced inflammation. This brings us to the massive flaw in how standard medicine treats this issue. When you go to a general practitioner and complain about a lack of firmness, the immediate protocol is to hand you a prescription for a standard erectile dysfunction pill. These synthetic medications are designed to artificially force vasodilation. They act like a chemical sledgehammer, trying to force blood into the area. But think about the biological reality we just discussed. If your microvessels are rigid, inflamed, and coated in advanced glycation, end products, forcing blood into them is like trying to force water through a rusted, calcified pipe. It might work temporarily, but it puts immense stress on the damaged infrastructure. Worse, these pills do absolutely zero to repair the underlying endothelial damage. They are a temporary mechanical override that completely ignores the root cause. Over time, as the glycation from your diet continues to destroy the microvessels, the pills become less and less effective, leaving men feeling utterly hopeless. I saw this exact scenario play out with a patient recently, a 63-year-old gentleman, an avid hiker, relatively lean, who prided himself on his clean diet. He had replaced all his junk food with large daily servings of organic trail mix and granola bars. Yet, he was suffering from severe erectile decline, and the highest dosage of the little blue pill was no longer working for him. He was convinced his life as an intimate man was over. When we ran his specialized inflammatory markers, his systemic inflammation was relatively low, but his markers for vascular endothelial stress were off the charts. His healthy snacking habit was actively suffocating his localized microvessels. The first step was, of course, eliminating the oxidized oils and concentrated fructose. But stopping the damage isn't enough once you're over 60. The vascular tissue doesn't just magically heal itself overnight once the glycation has set in. To restore vitality, you have to actively intervene to clear the oxidative debris and rebuild that delicate endothelial lining. This is where the conversation shifts from what you shouldn't do to what you absolutely must do to reverse this specific type of localized vascular aging. If you are finding this breakdown of the actual biology behind male performance helpful, I encourage you to like this video and subscribe to the channel. My goal is to bring the hard clinical science out of my office so you can stop guessing and start understanding how your body actually works. In my clinical practice, reversing this microvascular stiffness requires a targeted, concentrated approach that goes far beyond just eating more vegetables. We have to use specific, naturally derived compounds that have been clinically shown to penetrate the microvessels, neutralize the advanced glycation end products, and stimulate the regeneration of the endothelial glycocalyx. For years, I relied exclusively on pharmaceutical protocols, but the diminishing returns of those medications forced me to look at the clinical data surrounding high-potency vascular antioxidants. I began researching specific formulations designed to act directly on localized endothelial health. The science is incredibly clear. When you introduce the right concentrations of specific natural vasodilators and antioxidants, you can actually encourage the smooth muscle to regain its elasticity. The protocol I now use with my patients involves a very specific combination of ingredients that target this exact mechanism. We utilize potent, standardized extracts that function as natural modulators of the vascular tissue. For example, certain advanced derivatives of L-citrulline, when combined with specific polyphenols from targeted plant extracts, have shown a remarkable ability to bypass the liver's fast metabolism and reach the localized microvessels intact. Once there, they essentially scrub the endothelial walls of oxidative stress and provide the exact biological building blocks the body needs to resume natural nitric oxide production. Furthermore, we incorporate natural compounds that specifically reduce the rigidity caused by those ages. It's about restoring the supple, flexible nature of the penile arteries. When those arteries can relax naturally, blood flow is restored effortlessly, without the need for synthetic, forced vasodilation. The transformation in men who address this root cause is profound. It usually takes a consistent application of these targeted nutrients over a period of 4 to 8 weeks, but the results are sustainable. My patients report a return of morning vitality, which is the ultimate indicator of autonomous vascular health, and a noticeable improvement in firmness and stamina. But beyond the physical restoration, what I really see return is their confidence. There is a specific kind of psychological weight that lifts off a man when he realizes his body is not broken. It was simply starved of the right targeted support and bogged down by hidden dietary saboteurs. Because I get asked about this constantly, and because navigating the world of supplements can be incredibly dangerous and misleading, I have placed a link in the pinned comment below this video. That link goes to the exact clinically backed formulation that I recommend to the men in my practice to target this microvascular degradation. It is manufactured under strict standards, and it utilizes the specific mechanisms of action we've discussed today. I highly encourage you to read through the science on that page and see how it aligns with what you are experiencing. Tell me in the comments, have you ever noticed that making so-called healthy dietary changes didn't actually improve your performance in the bedroom? I read every comment, and I know how frustrating that disconnect can be. The most important takeaway I can give you today is that your vascular system, even into your 60s and 70s, retains a degree of plasticity. It wants to heal. But the biological window to reverse entrenched microvascular stiffness does narrow the longer you wait. Every day that those microvessels remain inflamed and rigid is another day of potential permanent cellular degradation. You cannot out-exercise a diet that is actively calcifying your smallest arteries, and you cannot permanently fix a structural vascular problem with a temporary synthetic pill. You must take proactive steps to restore the localized infrastructure. Check the link in the pinned comment, educate yourself on the tools available for targeted endothelial repair, and stop letting hidden inflammatory foods rob you of your vitality. Your best years and your most confident years do not have to be behind you, provided you give your body exactly what it needs to heal at the cellular level.